want to go ahead and sign in the sign-in sheet? Did you sign in? You did? Oh, well, you can do it after the fact. It's either way. Come and go and whatever. We just like to.
I just don't have my glasses, so I'll let you.
Oh, you're good.
It's too lazy to sign in. All right, well, I've given her an extra minute, but maybe we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals and Property Review Commission, July 20th, 2021 at 6:16. Pam, can you go ahead and call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Ogrid.
Here.
And Chairwoman Brinegar.
Here.
Okay, and I do know Ms. Schroeder is going to be a few minutes late, so I will note what time she arrives.
Okay, but we do have a quorum, so we're good. All right, so the first item of business is to approve the prior minutes from our last meeting, which was February 16th. Any corrections or revisions? I know I did not find any. It was a pretty thorough report of a long meeting we had.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
A motion was made by Mr. Ogrid to approve the meeting minutes of February 16th, 2021, and this was seconded by Mr. Burke. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yay!
We just
approved the minutes. So
that's all we've
come
done.
on in.
So great timing.
We stalled a little bit. Come
Oh, I thought you said wait to me. I was like, oh.
Oh, no, you're good. All right, so.
Okay. So we'll go on. Our next item of business is we have two zoning appeals cases tonight. For both of these cases, we will follow the same order. We'll start with the staff report. There'll be a chance for the property owner to speak, and oftentimes we may have questions for you. And then if there's any other after that, the public can input. I don't see anybody here. If anybody comes, there is a chance for us or for anybody in the public to give input, and then the board will discuss and make a decision on each case one at a time. So we are going to be starting tonight with variance 21-04 at the property of 1706 North Bellevue Drive, related, and it's a variance related to an accessory structure. So Pam, I'll turn it to you, and you're doing double duty tonight, right?
Yes.
If you wanted to comment
just,
on that.
For the record, at the present time, the city does not have a planning and zoning administrator. So the administrative staff is doing that work at the present time. So I did prepare the staff reports for these. So questions can come to me. So I will do my best. So the first one is a request by Mr. and Mrs. Snyder, the owners of 1706 North Bellevue Drive, for a variance from zoning code 18.05A for an accessory building. The owner wishes to place a 1,040 square foot accessory structure on an existing foundation from a structure that had previously been on the property. And we do have the property owner is here. This is an R1A, one family residential is the zoning district. And so the intent is to rebuild a 1,040 square foot accessory building to the rear of the 3.741 acre lot for storage of equipment and tools used to maintain the property and storage of recreational items like bikes, kayaks, etc., to keep the property decluttered. A structure of approximate size was previously in the same location on this lot, and the foundation and pad still exist there. So the surrounding land use is, all around it is residential. Previously related development decisions in the immediate area, there was a denial of a variance for an oversized structure at 1754 North Bellevue, and that happened last year in 2020. I included the plat map that shows there are no unusual easements on this property. The structure is not in a flood zone. I included those maps. I've included the application for the variance, and the owner did supply a lot of information with that, including some maps that show the placement of the structure he wants to build. He answered all the questions. As you can see, the answers to items 1 through 7. If anybody has any specific questions about those, when we get to the owner input, we can ask those. And a picture of the proposed building is included, including a floor plan map. So I will say that because my background is not planning and zoning, I have not made a staff recommendation. I tried to gather all the information I could for you and will answer any questions, but do not feel qualified to make my own personal judgment on these. We did receive from a neighbor, and I did send out to all of you all, a rather lengthy discussion on why this neighbor would like to see this denied. Did you get that, Sharon? Okay. I didn't get a chance to include it in the packets. I'm sorry. I can.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, is it?
Last
Okay.
page.
Maybe not the
The first one,
second
follow-up.
one.
not the follow
Yeah,
one.
the
Sure.
follow-up that came today is not in there. So if anyone wants me to include any information from that, I can kind of glance through it and tell you. Another piece of information I wanted to add that I did not include is because this neighbor specifically speaks to the fact that the variance that was denied last year for the property right next door, there is actually, the reason we have variance requests and have a board is that no two situations are the same. That request was for a large structure on a 1.3 acre lot. This one is for similar sized structure, but it's on 3.74 acres. So it is a different situation, and that's why the board is here to decide. So.
All right, thank you. Nice to know. All right, at this point, we will welcome the property owner if you would like to speak. And what we do is we ask you to come up here. I will swear you in, which is a standard procedure we do for anybody who participates in a public hearing. And then I'll have you state your name and address.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read the oath. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and state your name and address.
Rob Snyder, 1706 North Bellevue.
Okay. And then at this point, you can just, if you have any comments or prepared things that you would like to share with us, and then we can have questions for you.
A lot of the details were kind of already gone over, but basically 4 acres is a lot to take care of. It's got an existing 25 by 40 foot concrete pad and foundation still there, seeking just to rebuild on top of that so that they don't have to remove any concrete. We've looked at other ways. Could we add on to the house because of where the house is located and whatnot? That's not possible, just orientation and closeness of the creek. So we've looked at alternatives. And so really the area of least difficulty is just replacing what was put in that spot. I do have pictures that I took of all 4 corners and then sides to show that it won't affect any of the neighbors because it's totally enclosed in trees. You can't see, the only house you can see from that area is mine. So if you guys would like to see those, I can share that. Other than that, I don't really have any additional information to share.
Yeah, I'd be open to seeing the pictures. It is interesting. I did drive by, and it's like, oh,
Wooded.
I'm
It
not
is
gonna
wooded.
see anything.
Isn't there the sign that says Hidden Drive? Is that for your property, or there's several
Honestly,
that are
don't
because
know.
of that curve?
So it's got the little survey map at the bottom as well, just showing the orientation of where the picture was taken.
Do you have any idea when the last time a structure would have been on that
I honestly, I do not. I've only been there less than a year, and you can kind of look at the aerial maps and try to guess.
Back it out. Within
It can't be that long because it's cinder block and like normal concrete, so it's not super old.
So while I'm looking at these, probably because I'm not, I'm a little visually challenged, when I'm looking at these, what's the best view of where I would be looking? So this is, where's in this map, where the structure would be?
So this is like on all four sides looking out from the structure.
Oh, looking out from the structure?
Correct.
Okay, okay. But I see where, okay, so that's, I'll pass these down.
When we looked at that neighboring house, I kind of have a memory that there was some question about utilities and where they were located underneath.
Yeah,
Because there was some question about if they were going to build a driveway to get to it.
yeah, they had a
last time.
major utility easement through
Easement,
that
yeah.
property,
that-
but not on this
Not here.
property.
Okay. Thanks.
What is the plan to be able to access the structure, like from a vehicle or?
So it's going to be used for just a tractor and a RTV, as well as, like I said, just other chainsaws, tools to take care of the land. Right now, there used to be a rock driveway going to the barn. I don't know if we'll put one in again, but the grass has grown up through that.
Okay.
So I don't know that I have plans right now to add a driveway per se.
Is that this right here?
Correct. That's looking at my house. That first picture.
And that would be, that's the gravel that you're
Yeah,
speaking
the
of?
grass doesn't grow too well there.
So is that a garage? Or, I mean, you have a garage on the house, correct?
That is a very small two-car garage.
Garage, yeah. Not that one.
I noticed on your application, you said requesting variance for up to 1,200 square feet to accommodate building code and plan changes if necessary. What's,
So the reason for that, and it's just because if there's certain dimensions that need to be met to meet building code, I've talked with the Greene County building inspectors and gone through some of the things that I was looking at how to build this, and he kind of corrected some of the plans that I had. And so because I don't have a zoning permit, I can't submit for a building inspection, so I can't give them my final plan. So just in case they have, hey, you've got to have footers this big and it interferes with the concrete pad, I might need to make it 6 inches wider or something like that. I didn't want to have to come back for like another 1 square foot or something like that. But if all goes well, it'll be a 1040.
and what's the height?
I had to calculate it approximately based off of the slope of the roof. It is, if I calculated it right, just under 17 feet at the peak.
Which that's,
I was
that
gonna
would
say,
require a variance as well, wouldn't it?
how would that work with our
Isn't it
15
15?
feet maximum?
I can't remember. There's like depending on the size of the structure, there's
Right,
two different.
there's two different
heights.
numbers, it's
If
15
it's like,
then,
if it's under 300, it's a certain height, and then if it's between 300 and 600, I think it's, or greater than 300, I think it's another height requirement.
I look real quick.
Okay.
And that was one that I wasn't sure of, just asking around, because there's different counties apparently have that, calculate that differently. Some it's the median height, or the average of the two versus the peak, so I wasn't sure if
Oh,
that's.
actually, from our meeting minutes from last time, it says the owner has already adjusted the proposed height of the structure to 15 feet to meet the code
I
requirement.
think it
Right.
is 15.
So I think
So
it
that's
is
what I was
15.
thinking, it was 15 feet, because I remember there was a couple of cases where the the
I
height
think
was a
I'm-
little over, and the owner said, well, we'll just keep it at 15.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big accessory structures that have been coming in have been needing both variances because of.
And that's
how high they can
because
go.
of the required roof slope for the
Edge.
building codes.
Yeah,
So we should possibly look at,
If we're going to grant it, we'd
Amending.
have to amend that,
Yeah, we'd
Yeah.
have to.
well,
Are any trees being removed?
No. No, I purposefully positioned it so that no trees will be removed. There's one that ends up being, if I modeled it correctly, about 6 inches away from the overhang, and that tree will stay.
and more just of a clarification question that for me gets to undue hardships, right? Because that's a factor, you know, is there's already a base here. Would, it is in good shape to use, I'm guessing?
Yes.
First of all, and could you put a different size or smaller size? I mean, partly it's already there, but I didn't know if, you know, if you were gonna have to get rid of it anyway, I mean, you could always say put a smaller one or whatever, but I don't know if there's any thought about, could you even use it for a smaller size, or, was it more just since it's there, let's use it for, since you have a large size property to maximize
It's both.
tractor and.
It's both. Because it's there, it's in good condition. To me, it doesn't make sense to tear out concrete that is functional or still has life left in it. And I mean, if I did end up having to build a smaller one, I'm gonna have to cut 20-inch holes in the middle of it to accommodate the footers and the poles.
Okay. Well, always a concern, I mean, certainly a concern we always talk about too is
Yeah.
adding more cement or more, you know, I mean, I guess we could argue it's probably not going to increase anything, right? I mean, as far as runoff or things like that, but. All right, go ahead, Philip, you were.
I just was going to echo that. Why is such a large structure needed?
I mean, it's for the storage of, like I said, the tractor. It's not a standard yard tractor. It's a small farm tractor that can handle the 3-point hitch grater blades. Have a utility vehicle for cutting firewood, pulling out honeysuckle and whatnot. And then because we want to be able to park the cars in the garage, that puts the shop tools out in that structure as well. And then we do have bikes, kayaks. I got 2 boys, so we want to keep all that stuff stored away as well.
Would there be any utilities to this structure?
Eventually electric.
And would the doors be similar to what you've had in this photo here? They would be opening this way, or?
Yes, they are sliding barn doors.
I guess the other thing, and it's maybe more partly for us to discuss, but are you aware of the property adjacent to yours that had kind of a neighborhood
Rally.
concern?
Yeah.
And it was one of the more contentious cases we've had.
I am briefly aware of that, because I did talk to them and let them know what I was doing, and they informed me of some of the issues that they came up against. So adding to that, reading through the code, I would say that my property doesn't fall into the regular property definition, and so having a large property with fully surrounded by trees where it's not going to affect anyone's view or any of that, I think is a huge difference. I mean, I understand not putting a 1,000 square foot structure on a quarter-acre lot, although we do have many of those.
We do have some, yes.
But so I understand if that was right up there, that would make sense. But if it's like I said, a 4-acre lot, then there's I think some major differences there.
Any other questions for Rob?
I don't think I have any.
Thank you.
Thanks.
At this point, we open it up for any kind of public input. Anybody wishes to speak on behalf of this variance request? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public input portion, and now it's a chance for us to discuss as a board and arrive at a decision.
This one's interesting to me.
It is.
This is like smack dab in the middle of two cases we've had recently. We had the one case we've obviously referenced, and then we have the case. I think when I looked
There was
that up,
another,
it was on like Upper Bellbrook.
That private drive.
Private drive, and it was like a
Yes.
5-acre lot, so a
Yes.
little bit bigger, a little bit more
Yes.
out from the city center,
It was.
and there was
on an
also a pad
existing
there.
area where one
Was
used to
that
be.
one, and I thought of that one too, for sure. I think one of the factors was that they were using the structure, but I think it
I
was,
couldn't remember. Did
was
they
it
tear
a
it down?
storm or was it a
Yeah,
district? I forget.
something had fallen down, and
And
they had to clear it out.
they had actively already been using it, and they had a large
Mhm.
tractor as well because it was a large property, right?
Right.
That felt different.
Mhm.
But some of the concerns, and so I mean, in that respect, it isn't your typical residential lot. I mean, I would agree with that. And for me, that there is a hardship of having to take care of that lot and the need for a tractor. I mean, having said that, I mean, I don't want to throw out some of our rationale that we used for the case that was nearby, right? I mean, just some concerns about how well it could be seen. This one is going to be more hidden.
I can
For
see
sure.
distinctions between that one and this one, though. That's why I was asking about the utility easement and so forth, because it seemed like the last one, in addition to sort of the concern from the neighbors being a bit more than what we're hearing on the questions on this one, they had some concerns and some history, I think, about running a business out of theirs. They wanted to put a driveway in. It was gonna be seen, the lot was smaller, it had an easement there, so there was a concern if they did put the driveway in, then what if they had to tear it back out, you know, because of the easement that was there. And they had the ability, it sounded like from the discussion, to build something smaller. You know, they kind of came up with, well, if this isn't gonna work, we've got some ideas to do it smaller and different things, where in this case, there's already the footing, the ground is already there. So if he goes with a different size, it almost seems like it's either more of an eyesore, if there is going to be visual, or it's more of a hardship, because he's either gonna have to tear out the concrete or build something smaller, and you're still gonna have this visual of the footprint that exists outside of it, which is, I would think, might look worse. And the land's quite a bit bigger here, and it appears to be covered by the trees, so in my view, that's what got me kind of thinking, I see a distinction between, in spite of what the neighbors' emails were explaining about, hey, you just talked about this one right here, to me, they're very different.
Well, that, I mean, and that is something, that's the purpose of our board, right?
Yeah.
We have to decide if,
Each case is different.
if, are there allowances to be made because of those differences in
Yeah.
the properties? But the question of the business, I mean, being able, you know, to run a business out of, I mean, that's, yes, there might have been some concerns about a particular property, but I would argue that could be a concern of, or what, who's the next
Right.
person to own
Right.
his property too, right? So some of that is independent, I think.
That's partly
Yeah.
why the 600 square foot limit is there today. It's just blanket to cover that sort of situation. So
Well, and two, if there is another property owner, who's to say that they wouldn't take out all the trees and it would be wide open for everybody else to see it?
True.
You know, that's the other thing for future
things
use.
to think about.
Let's hope not, but.
I have a comment. It's down in the valley, so if they take out those trees, they're gonna have a major erosion.
The other concern that I would have would be the 1040 versus the 1200. You know, if we're granting a variance, I would like to see it be for a specific number and not
I mean,
a range of square footage.
I mean,
'cause
we
that-
can define the number.
Yeah,
So
And I also think I mean, I like to say we should aim to be as conservative as we can if we're granting it, you know, I hope we can get, I understand the reason for the 1200, but I'd prefer 1040, just again, partly in setting precedent. And
Yep. The other question would be, we talked about the height. I guess if the homeowner could let us know somehow if you could leave it at 15. The only reason being is we would have to amend the variance for two different, the size and then also for the height.
I mean, we can do
Is there
both
any-
tonight
Yeah.
if we chose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we know,
Of the case.
I don't think the building code required pitches of building code on the 26 feet wide of the building. The 4 by 12 minimum doesn't allow for that.
To me, I feel comfortable with the height if we, I mean, assuming we're gonna, if we approve the size of the proposed structure because of, again, the specifics of the location.
I mean, how do we feel about the location, though? I mean, it is wooded, but it is also very plainly in the middle of residential Bellbrook. Do we start, are we setting precedents that 1 acre is too small, but 3.7 is big enough? And where do we start
Yeah, is there a
gravitating towards
percentage
a
of,
line?
like, is there a percentage of the lot that can have a size, this size versus, a smaller lot takes up
There-
more percentage of the lot?
there is some place in code that does speak to, not covering more than a certain percentage of your lot. But if we're talking
Yeah,
about
I mean, that wouldn't be a
3.7,
big-
7.
though,
We're
yeah,
not- we're
I
not
don't
getting
remember
close
what,
there,
yeah,
yeah.
we're not even close.
No, yeah.
So, there is some place in code, and I would have to search, because I don't remember exactly where to put my hand on it, but code does speak to that.
To me, that's an important factor, but I think there are others, other factors, including, what the neighbors think or don't think, about the trees and if it's shielded or not, if it's visible right on the road, if it's out in the country, generally speaking, like the other one, like one of the other ones was. If it has easement concerns, I think all those things kind of play into it. But I do think that the percentage of the land should be a factor.
I mean, that might even be something we could consider updating the code too. I mean, obviously it's not there now, but.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, we've been working on updating our codes.
I mean, one of the things I always fall back to is even like denying a variance still allows for a structure up to 600 square foot. I mean, it's not like an all or nothing, can't put a structure up at all. I mean, not specific to this case, but just in general.
In general.
That's always something that's in the back of my head.
I agree, and I think that was partly what we thought last time when the folks seemed to think that they could come up with something a little bit smaller and still make it work. And I think that's another distinction in my mind here, where there's already the concrete sitting there that would either have to be torn up or left unused and sitting beside it or drilled through or whatever has to happen to do something different.
That lot wasn't near wooded like this one.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it's
I mean,
partly
it's
the
not like a
size,
maintenance
but
thing
partly
from
the
that point of view.
Right.
exact nature of the lot.
Because that was one of the, sort of the justifications of the Upper Bellbrook Road case was that of the maintenance involved and the amount of equipment.
Right, for a lot that size.
And their driveway was really long, and, I mean, there was a lot to maintain, that big. I think one of the things I always do is kind of go back to, the requirements for a variance, just try to read it again. To vary the strict application of any of the requirements of this ordinance in the case of exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or deep lots, or other exceptional physical conditions, whereby strict application would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship. So I think this case would edge towards the, exceptional physical conditions. I don't know, I'm really torn. It's like right on my line.
I would lean toward approving it.
Feel ready to, do you wanna make a motion?
I don't know if there are other
Any,
questions,
Philip, are you still
other
moving?
discussions.
I'm just looking at the position of it.
One of the concerns from the person that emailed in, Derek, was the idea of basically setting the precedent, but I'm not sure to what extent this is setting a precedent for, I mean, this is again falling into a not your normal situation.
Case by case, which
I agree.
So,
I think he was making the assumption that it's the same as the other. Why would we do anything different?
right.
And that set precedent, and this would, set precedent in a different direction, but I think we've identified a number of differences, and that we don't feel like this is precedent setting
yeah, I mean, there would,
necessarily because of all the factors that we consider.
I mean, there'd be no need for variances if it was always just strict adherence
Right,
to the
exactly.
the code.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
Philip, you
And-
look deep in thought.
Yeah, I'm just looking. So the building size is the same as the pad size, 25 by 40, and the building is 26 by 40?
Six by six goes well, very sitting right over top of that.
Okay.
Right, so we should probably, oh, go ahead, Pam.
I was gonna say, I know we've split these before, and I'd like to have two different votes. One would be for the accessory structure at, did you wanna do the 1,040, is that? Okay. And then the second, so it would be, variance 20-04B would be, an accessory structure with a height of 17 foot.
We can do that separately.
Yeah.
Yes, do
Okay.
two different votes?
I think that's the way we've done it.
Yeah, that's
in
how
the
we've been
past.
doing them. And then I would readjust just to form and get you to sign off on it.
All right, is there a motion to accept the variance for the square footage of 1040?
I'll make the motion. Do you need me to read it out?
I'll read it.
Okay.
You're good.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion was made by Ms. Schroeder to approve variance 21-04A for an accessory structure of 1,040 square foot at 1706 North Bellevue Avenue Drive.
Drive.
And this was seconded by Mr. Burke. Ms. Schroeder?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Ogrid?
No.
And Chairwoman Brinegar?
Yes. This was a tough one. I think that, I guess I just appreciate the board's thoughtfulness. I mean, it's a complex case for sure, so.
So,
Oh, we gotta do the
Motion-
second one.
Yeah,
Second
motion for the
The height.
height.
I'll motion for a height of, This is the difficult one. I'm not sure if it's exactly 17. or-
I know.
We'll
Can I
say
up
17.
to?
Let's just
Can
say
say
17.
I know,
up to
up to
17.
17
Yeah,
foot?
up to.
Okay.
But with required roof pitches, if, I don't know how that plays out.
Well, he's got it,
Well,
he'll have to have,
that's for the builder.
below,
to-
right, he'll have to have
Yeah.
Greene County building, they'll have to approve
Yeah.
those parts of it, so.
Alright.
We allow them
Alright.
to say what pitch it needs to have.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, I guess, I don't know, add to the variance an allowance of up to 17 feet of height for the structure.
I'll second.
Mr. Burke made a motion to approve variance number 21-04B to allow for an accessory structure with a height of up to 17 foot at 1706 North Bellevue Drive. And this was seconded by Mr. Ogrid. Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Ogrid,
Yes.
Ms. Schroeder,
Yes.
Chairwoman Brinegar.
Yes. All right.
So I'll make an adjustment to this, email it to you or whatever, and, you know, we'll sign that off and I'll talk to you tomorrow about it. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to leave, it's up to you. Okay. All right, so we will move on to our second variance case. This is 21-05. The property is 2097 Sheffield Place. It is also for an accessory structure.
All right.
So we will, again, start out with the staff report from Pam.
All right, the request is from Timothy Chandler, the owner of 2097 Sheffield Place, for a variance from zoning code 18.05A for an accessory building that would take the aggregate total square footage on the property over the allowed 600 square feet. The property already has a 600 square foot garage on it at the present time. This is a R1A, one family residential zoning district. I've included the GIS picture there. The applicable code is from 1805A. Detached accessory buildings, including garages constructed on a one-family lot, shall not exceed in the aggregate 600 square feet. Everything around this property is also residential. There were no previous decisions in this immediate area in the last 3 to 5 years. There's an easement. So if you look at the drawing, you can see there's an easement on the, northeast edge. But the proposed site, if you look at the request, the proposed site would be for the structure to be behind the garage. So it would be nowhere near the easement. The structure site's not in a flood zone, and maps are enclosed, and once again, no staff recommendation.
Okay. All right, thank you, Pam. So at this point, if I'm presuming you're the property owner,
Yes, I do have pictures, I didn't have them at the time.
I'm gonna have you do this, follow the same procedure, and I will swear you in, and then I'll have you state your name and address.
Okay.
Okay. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And state your name and address.
My name is Tim Chandler, 2097 Sheffield Place. And I'm just wanting to put a shed up behind the garage. I do have pictures, which I had Tom's Mulch, which is going to do the work. I couldn't print them out, but anyway.
It's okay.
This is what it's going to look like.
Hang on, it
Oh.
went to the
Oops.
city Bellbrook.
Oh, it wants to log into the
Unable to
city.
join. Okay, okay, cancel. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm using your phone here. Okay. Okay, so it's behind. Is this the garage?
That's the garage, detached garage, and it's going to be behind it. And I'm putting those arborvitaes in for the neighbor behind us. She was going to do it herself without the shed, but I told her I'd just go ahead and do it.
Okay.
So if you look at the GIS overview, you can see where the house sits, and then on the kind of southwest side, you can see the driveway and a detached garage,
Yes.
and the shed would be behind that.
How close to the existing garage would the,
It would be about 9 foot off the existing garage, 12 foot off the back property, and 10 foot off the side property.
I mean, I guess one of the main questions we have is sort of the reason for the variance, or what's the purpose of why you would need more than 600?
Well, in that detached garage is a boat and a truck, my wife's car, and then the attached garage is my truck. This will be just for the lawnmower, the attachments, the thatcher, the aerator, the roller, gardening tools, weed eaters, yard equipment. There won't even be electric to it.
So the existing, just making sure the detached garage is the 600 square feet accessory structure in existence with a driveway. And then is it a 2-car garage as well, then attached to the house?
Right.
what's the actual size of the garage itself?
The, what, detached?
Detached garage.
I think it was a 20 by 35, whatever comes up to 600 square foot. Because at that time, I tried to get that 21 years ago, a bigger one, and the neighbors complained, so that you denied it. That's why I wanted it bigger for the lawn equipment and stuff.
How big a lot is this?
3/4 acre.
Okay.
And it seems like there's been no input from any neighbors, positive or negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing received.
Nothing
Yeah, but nothing
received.
received prior to
Yeah.
the meeting.
Yeah, okay. And I know the letters went out. Because I know
Yes,
one of
because
them.
you said
There's two that actually went out.
Okay.
We got two of them.
Oh, you got two? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. We liked them.
Okay, good. I do you go onto GIS and you tell it your range and it just pops up this list of
Okay.
addresses. I was like, oh, okay.
Deal.
I learned all kinds of new stuff.
All right, any other questions?
So
for-
the new structure is 240 square feet? Is that, am I reading
It's
this
a
right?
12 by 20 shed.
Yeah,
Yes,
240.
240, yeah.
11 feet high.
At the center of the peak, yes. It's actually got 8-foot walls.
And will you have any utilities
No,
for this? Okay.
no.
So the variance isn't for, I guess that's our discussion, it's not for the size of this, it's for the aggregate, because the other
Yeah,
one's
It's
already
the
there.
aggregate.
If the
Detached.
detached garage didn't exist, it would be a no-brainer, yeah. Well, he wouldn't even need.
Wouldn't even need a
You wouldn't
variance.
need a variance.
All right.
Right.
Right,
Because he's
Okay.
farther away from the property lines and everything,
Right.
so. Okay.
all right. Any other questions or any other comments for us that you think would be helpful for us to know?
No. I mean, it's just a shed. I didn't even realize it'd be a big deal until I come down, but yes.
It's become we've had a run on accessory structures,
Yeah.
partly with COVID and
Yeah.
partly just in general.
I
It's been,
know.
yeah.
Always.
All right, well, thank you. We
Okay.
appreciate you coming in tonight. What was that?
Is if anyone wanted to speak from here. I didn't.
Oh,
get
no,
any-
yes, no, yes, you're right. I'm right.
Sorry.
I'm jumping the gun.
I know. Sorry. We haven't done this.
So, at this point, we allow, public input from anybody who is interested in speaking. Okay. So I will, did they have
Swear
to swear
in.
them
Yeah.
in too,
Yes.
right? Okay. You know the drill. I'm gonna swear you in first.
Okay.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Okay. And then go ahead and state your name and address.
Charles Skipper, 2109 Sheffield. live right next door to them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I thought this was originally just for the garage. So I didn't know you were putting a shed, but I will say everything they've done to their yard only makes it look beautiful. So to me, I know what they put in is going to look great. I have no complaints on my end because, like I said, even their detached garage is beautiful on its own, and it's a garage alone. So I would say anything they're gonna do to the lot with the shed, and I've seen everything he has. I have no doubt that he needs it for all his yard stuff and his nap boat, and before that you had the RV. So yeah, they're busy, and yeah. So I would say like as the neighbor next door, been there 3 years. Only good things to say about them. I know what they put in is going to look great. I know they're going to keep it looking great and not going to have any issues. So on my end, I would say, they should be allowed to put this in because it's going to look beautiful and it's going to look nice and it's not going to be anything unsightful for anybody. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing nobody else, and make sure are you good to speak or you didn't want to say anything?
Oh, no, I'm his wife. I do have an email from the neighbor across the street that said, do I need to let him know I'm okay with it? And I said, nah. So thanks for coming, Charlie. It's a surprise. We didn't know. He's a great neighbor.
Okay.
It is helpful, just for future reference, just so we know, but sometimes, like the one we got earlier was an email, but, if people either come or send us information, it does help us to know
Yep.
the perspectives from others.
Right. I guess I figured everybody I've talked to, they're not going to complain. So we don't need anything to back it up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's discuss again. I mean, this one again. I guess the question is, I go back to some of the language of the variance, right? Is there an exception to be made here?
Mm-hmm.
And from a purely legal perspective, I'm a little hard pressed to find a pure example of this being a hardship. It's a factor that I think they have support from neighbors. I think that matters. I think that they keep their property up. I think it matters. I don't know that that matters to the law exactly, or to how it's written, but that makes this one hard, I think.
Yeah, it's to the question of why it's actually needed.
Right.
Yeah, I think this falls into the category of more of a regular lot without the exceptional considerations. We had a case recently on Franklin for an accessory structure, and it was one where there was like a one-car garage on the main street, no on-street
parking.
ability.
No parking.
There are times when conditions can sort of align, seeing as how there's already two-car garage attached and detached. To me, I would lean no in this case. I think this is one of those that does lead towards some sort of a precedence, because there's not, in my eyes, an exceptional consideration here.
Well, right, because the question is, would someone else with a similar lot, would we grant them an 800 square foot?
That was sort of the
structure?
justification
Right.
of the neighbor of the first case. They had a lot of things, and they wanted a big shed. Ignoring the easements, it was a good-sized lot, not 3 acres, and not anything otherwise exceptional about the lot to take care of. So I think this falls closer to that case overall.
I would agree. Thoughts from Philip or Sharon?
I struggle with it as well, because, thinking of like what you said, having the other structure already there, but, as he said, he would have asked for that before, or he did, and I guess it was
did.
turned down.
Yeah.
So, it was turned down the last time, for whichever reasons. Otherwise, he might have had one, but it would have been larger and had a variance. But, some of the concerns we've heard before are either from neighbors, or it's unsightly, or it's gonna potentially run a business, or it's gonna, some of the concerns we've had, those can't be the case here, because we've heard from neighbors that there's at least 2 that support it. Sounds like it's well kept, at least to date, and, it doesn't sound like it could be run for a business, and there's no electric, there's nothing going to be run to it. It's not of that size by itself. So by itself, it's, like you said, it wouldn't even require a variance, so I'm a little bit torn because of the fact that there's already one there, but it sounds as if he's already tried to request that, and that didn't work, and he otherwise might have had one that was larger to fit the things that he needs.
That's the only issue that I see, is that there's already an existing structure of 600 square feet. And then there's the hardship. Is it really a hardship since we already have an existing off structure? It's a hard one.
Yeah, this is always what the debate comes down
Yeah.
to. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is tough. I think based on sort of if I go by the codes, the guidelines that were given, I'm inclined to say no. My heart says yes. I mean, I feel like it. We want people to have their properties kept up, and I think that's important, and I commend you for that. Not everybody does, right? We're also on property review.
And also for the hardship, not that this is a hardship, we're gonna store the Christmas stuff out, it's getting harder for us to get it out of the attic. That's the only hardship thing about it.
It's hard, but I mean, it's hard. We get a lot of requests for just storage of things, right? And that's where do we?
That's always the case. I mean,
It's always and where do we draw the line? I guess.
I agree. To me, it's a little tougher than the others, because when you start to look at all the factors, but I guess I do tend to weigh heavily that they're taking care of their property. They've asked for this before, to have one larger structure to fit what they did need, and they have needed, and they still need that space on their property. They're doing what they can to keep it up and make it look nice and take care of their things. They have neighbors that think it's appropriate, that aren't bothered by the potential variance with it. So I guess I would lean more toward accepting it, but I recognize the concern about, when you look at the letter of the law, what's the real
I know.
hardship? Where do we draw the line between, well, then make it all fit in the first structure versus having a second structure?
I guess in this case, since it is a much smaller lot, does the percentage of coverage even come close
I
here?
would doubt it.
I
I mean,
don't know.
that's still a big lot for most of the
For
lots back there are
240
what,
square
4/10, and this is 3/4. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd
Just
be shocked
240
if they're
square feet.
covering, unless it includes like paved surfaces or something. I don't know.
I don't
what's all
remember if
included,
that
but
covered that or
I don't
not,
know.
to be honest with
We
you.
usually have this come up, but the
I know.
total.
I don't have the answer to that.
That's fine.
I can look it up, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Do you want to, just for my own clarity, you've got your paper right there. Can you read it for us one more time before and I think then we probably just need to make a.
Yeah, so this
one
is
way or the
from section 2013, procedures and requirements for variances. To vary the strict application of any of the requirements of this ordinance in the case of exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or deep lots, or other exceptional physical conditions, whereby such strict application would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship, not economic in nature, that would deprive the owner of reasonable use of the land or building involved, but in no other case. And then there's a little bit more, but that's sort of the root of it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think from the definitions we have to work with, I would have to say no. That would be my stance.
I think I probably lean toward approving it from the standpoint of just the reasonable use of their property, given their use to date, what they've asked for, what they want, what their neighbor's view of it, and the size of the one that they're asking the variance of. It's a reasonable use of their property.
All right, so I guess we can go this either way. We can either make a motion to approve or deny, right? I've gotta.
And we have an even number of people.
I know, I was wondering what we
and
do
the-
in that
I
case.
don't
We've never had.
know.
Well,
The lot is a little bit odd shaped. It's not a perfect square. It's got a little circular little dot in there. And then this goes to a corner where it's kind of truncated there.
well, I think I'm gonna ask looking in your name, Aaron. Aaron, either Aaron or Trent. Let's make a motion, and we'll vote on it either way. We'll have our answer.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance at 2097 Sheffield Place for the variance regarding the additional
240.
accessory building of 240 square feet.
Oh, is there a second? I mean, I'll second it to at least put it to a
Okay,
vote.
yeah, that's fine.
It's just a formality.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Schroeder made a motion to approve variance number 21-05 for a 240 square foot accessory structure at 2097 Sheffield Place, and this was seconded by Chairperson Brinegar. Ms. Schroeder,
Yes.
Chairperson Brinegar,
No.
Mr. Burke,
No.
Mr. Ogren.
No.
So the variance is denied. I mean, again, I did what I felt. I think we all did. I felt I didn't see the exceptional character of the request, I guess. But my heart feels otherwise. I mean, I appreciate you doing what you do to keep your property looking great.
Well, I mean, I'm just climbing over the equipment and stuff in the garages, so. Right. She can't even get her car out, I have to drive it out for her, because it's crowded in there. Because I don't want it sitting outside, obviously.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming down. I didn't even realize you coming down. I know. How's that baby doing?
All right.
All right. Oh, I do want to give a property maintenance update. 2088 Dane Lane.
We know that one.
I know. Here, guess what?
What?
There's obviously something happening. They paid their tax bill.
Wow.
I thought they had been.
Oh, no. Remember, they paid their violation bill. Sorry.
Oh, the violation. Because I'm like, I thought they were current.
No, they were current. Sorry, they yes.
Okay.
But they
They paid
paid
the-
in full. They paid their violation. So we're hopeful that means there might be some movement.
Some movement to sell.
We're waiting, but yeah, out of the blue.
Can we tell who paid it?
The
property owner?
Yeah,
Or-
the property owner. It came from So Elias, yeah.
But the question is, are the
They're still
violations
not-
still in effect
Well,
though?
I went by it yesterday, and it is overgrown.
Yes,
I mean,
I know. So it's incurring more violations now, but see, the way timing works, I mean, winter came, we weren't checking for violations. So then, they've paid off everything from previous, So now it's, starting a violation, they have a certain time limit to mediate that. If they don't, then it goes to fines, and then it would come to, so then they can appeal the fines. That's when it comes to you if they, so it's a whole process.
Sure.
That is, they paid what was there, but it's
Still
now.
accruing.
Right, we're still in that process going around, but the fact that was paid
Okay.
leads us to believe that something is going to happen with that property. So, fingers crossed
Okay.
that something good starts happening over there.
Be nice.
It's a long time coming, and those neighbors have put up with a lot. So, that's all. I think that's all, unless you all have any questions.
No, the only other comment was just, well, the case we approved the minutes of from last time, I mean, those,
The building material.
the building
Yes.
materials finally got moved, I'm sure you guys noticed.
I had a note
Yes.
here, I wanted to mention that.
Yes.
Okay.
The
They
roofing
did.
materials had been moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes the whole area look
Yeah,
much
it looks
better.
A lot
really nice.
better.
It
as you
looks
come
really
into
nice.
Bellbrook. So,
Yeah, it does. It's looking good.
Yeah, looks really good.
So, they're
The
doing
building
well.
where Subway's located, in case you
Yes.
have any.
The new art town, yeah.
Okay.
So they've been doing a lot of work over there, so
Mhm.
gotta say that's nice to see.
the only other question I had from the property maintenance is the new code is still under review, or?
Well,
Where is
everything's
it
on
called?
hold right now
Okay.
because, there's just keeping up with everyone's permits during the busy build season is all we can handle right now. Hopefully, come the end of building season and hopefully, new staff members come on, we'll be digging back into that. But yeah, unfortunately, that's on hold. Guess just not enough hours in the day right now to tackle other issues.
But can we, maybe for your benefit, I mean, you may already know this, but I mean, I think there's also been some concern about the utility of that. I mean, I would say from our point of view and having to deal with some of these maintenance cases, having as clear and enforceable of a code as possible matters
Yeah, it
greatly.
helps.
Yep.
And I just want, I want to have
From the
a,
standpoint of.
in case there's anybody questioning that as far as, do we
No, I
focus
don't-
on this, do you know?
No, I think everyone does know. I mean, that
Okay.
updating the codes was part of council's goals for the year. So they definitely see it as something they want to see happen, but
Okay.
there's
More-
been some major situations happening and,
that's
and
understandable.
other things have just
Sure.
had to take precedent over rewriting code. But it is in the process. Things have been started. They are just on hold temporarily. But yes, we definitely want to get back to working on those. So, but I will also pass that along when I do my monthly update to council on what's going on with the boards.
Sure.
I'll let them know that, you definitely don't want that stalled out and that we want to
Yes.
make sure that stays a
Yeah.
priority.
Okay.
So
Little
speaking of the
things
boards,
like
we-
wood piles and things like
Yeah.
that are just,
I know.
need definition.
Yes.
And brush piles and all that sort of stuff is.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna ask, so we have an open seat on the board now, right?
Yes. Well, so we were talking about this before.
Oh, sorry.
There also the issues with some of the change happening, losing our deputy mayor and now we're, city manager going, the loss of the planning and zoning person in a very sudden way, has definitely stalled that process. There's an applicant looks very qualified.
Great.
But community affairs, Mr. Edwards was on that committee and for several months was trying to be well enough to attend things and was only able to do stuff sporadically. So that kind of went on hold. The mayor has, for the remainder of the year, is stepping in to fill those committee positions for the rest of the year. So he is going to join community affairs to do those interviews as soon as I can get those scheduled. So we have one really good applicant who wants to join the board. All we have to do is go through the steps to make that happen. So sometime soon. Also, Glenn says hi, because I accidentally included him on the, he was like, Pam, I'm not coming to the meeting. I was like, I forgot to take you off the mailing list.
Well, the sad thing is we never actually met Glenn in person.
I know, isn't that sad? Great guy, great guy.
He lives right down from me, so I've met him several
Yeah, and
times.
I've met him because we actually
walking down the street.
both worked the polls together.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Wisconsin, wasn't it?
I
that
think
they moved
Wisconsin. No,
to?
he's a loss. He was a good member. I
Yeah,
think, so.
yeah. So,
Okay.
but yeah, as soon as possible, I actually sent out another email this morning to, now that, the mayor's on, I was like, so now that we have the committee back together, and they're like, okay, well, it's good. It's just, they've had a lot going on.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
Sure.
But hopefully, maybe even by the next meeting, I would like to see us
Okay.
have the new person on board, because, I mean, it's really formality at this point. So.
Well, as far as new, lost my train of thought. New business. At a point I was going to make. I don't know. Any other? I guess we'll just bring it on. Any other new business that we haven't addressed that?
I don't think so.
Can't think of anything.
Okay.
I do know there are going to be a couple of cases.
Oh, that's what I was
already.
going to ask.
Oh.
I was like, new business. Do we have any in the
Yes.
pipeline, or do you see us meeting next
There's
month?
definitely one case coming, because the property owner wanted to be available to be at the meeting, and so specifically requested waiting until August,
Okay.
because he was not going to be available
In
for
July.
tonight. Yes. So I do know that, and then another one probably, and then there's a third one. Not quite sure what's happening with that. So definitely some variances to hear. Not sure if we're gonna have anything following up with property maintenance, just because we don't have a code official. So the
Okay.
only things that are being dealt with are complaint based, or
And
if
we
it's
had
something-
seen some that had gone out, at least, that were assessing
Yes.
fines and things
Yeah,
like that.
there
Okay.
are a few that are kind of on the extreme side. That we're trying to keep a handle on.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if any of that, because all those things, they have to go through that whole timing thing.
Right.
Before they get to this board. So not sure if anything would be to that point by the August meeting, but I'll let you know. But you will definitely be meeting in August, so.
All right. No new business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Mr. Burke to adjourn the July 20th meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals and Property Review Commission, and this was seconded by Mr. Ogrid. All in favor?
Yes.
All right, let me go turn off our live stream.
Okay. Yes.